I'm Muideen. I welcome you to VoIP Mobile Extension Setup tutorials using 4G LTE networks. Thanks for joining me. When it comes to business communications, businesses simply cannot afford to miss phone calls or have employees not being contactable for a prolonged period of time if they want to avoid their customers approaching their competitors. Switching to VoIP lets employees stay connected to the corporate phone system irrespective of their locations. Mobile VoIP is becoming a powerful trend for employees and employers to increase productivity, flexibility, and accessibility without incurring exorbitant price. Now, let's get started with the training info. Before we go further, I would like to run our agenda, which will include one, the introduction. An introduction to the system and the advantages that you can see on the system. Having said that, we look at the typical network diagram if we actually want to implement the solution. Then what are the requirements that we need to meet before we can actually have a successful implementation. Then we're going to list some very important ports that is required to be port forwarding from the router to the IPBX server. After that, we look at how to set up our 4G router to direct the request from the external source into the local LAN where we have the IPBX server. Then also the server tool has to be configured to one, to be able to receive requests externally, and also to be able to be reachable, and also to create an extensions on each of these servers. After that, we now look at the phone configuration on its own on the mobile devices, or either laptop, or on the phones, or on any other mobile gadget that is allowed. Now, the VoIP. The VoIP mobile extension is, as I said earlier, this tutorial is going to focus on step-by-step guide how you can get it done yourself as an organization, as an expert, as an integrator, as a solution provider. So, as I said earlier, these solutions can be implemented using your iPhone, which is IP phones, and as well it can be used using a laptop system where you install your mobile client. Then also the mobile client can be installed on the phones. They are on Android phone or iOS devices. Besides, before you actually proceed, let's look at the importance and what is actually the definition or the clarification on the VoIP extension. What does it actually mean? It is actually an efficient way or a low-cost way of communicating using your cell phone and the services provided by your home or business VoIP providers. Or it can also be a mobile phone works with a cell phones for either 3G or 4G or any other internet where you can actually send voice and receive voice in form of packets using what the IP technology. So mobile phones can also take advantage of Wi-Fi hotspots to eliminate the calling cost of a cellular voice. What do I mean? For example, one of the things that is very, very important most of people today is that most of the people has internet on their phones. So these phones can be actually utilized to its fullest features by deploy this solution on in your organization or for your customer, depending on the scenario. Now, let's look at the exact cost savings because cost is also very very important as far as running an organization is important. And also in winning your customer to cost to it has to be very, very something that you must put into consideration. One of the major things I would like to emphasize is your roaming cost when you go outside your country. So once this is implemented on your phone, so there's no need of doing a roaming on your phones anymore, because all these countries, as you travel, there are hotspots that contain an internet, either free or paid internet, or at your hotel, or at the hall where you are holding your training or organizing an event. You can actually get a cheaper internet where you can connect. Once you are connected, you can actually making calls from where you are to using your office PBX solutions. The same thing happens to incoming call charges. Whenever you travel outside the country, when you are being called using that your mobile phones, you are going to incur some charges. So with this, these charges is going to be eliminated. Then on the monthly cost expenses organization, this can also be reduced if not totally eliminated. How? Because everybody can moving having their mobile phones around, which means that if this is installed on the mobile phones, it means that any of other of the employers, they can easily catch each other without even using their the mobile phone providers solution for calling. Secondly is when you are outside the country or you are away from your location, you can actually support your customer remotely using the external phone call available at your local extension setup. Then one of very key points is also that you can as well make use of your local trunk lines remotely. How do I mean that? I have my phones already configured. I have a mobile phone, I mean a mobile extension on my phone again. That means that I'm already logged into IPBX located at my office, meaning that the external calls available on that PBX, I can actually make use of it. What will happen when this is implemented? That means that your customer can reach you, your office can reach you, your boss can reach you. So that means that this will make a lot of things happen. One, you're going to increase your customer loyalty because your customer can reach you anytime. Also, you're going to improve customer satisfaction because one of the major problems some customer is facing is one, inability to get the support at the right time. Then again, what we do is that is to improve your company image drastically. Now, let's look at the network architecture of the solution we are actually talking about. One of very key devices is our IPBX server. So this will be on the network. Then the external lines that will need to be connected, either your CO lines or your GSM trunk as well, can be connected to the. Our advice majorly is that, for example, in this case, we are using 4 external lines. We are advising you not to use a single provider. For example, the Glo, you can use a Glo line, you can use an MTN line, you can use 9 mobile line, and also you can also use another CO lines like 21st century trunk lines. As well use it. That means that you have what is called availability at all time, because one, if any of the network has issue, that means that you can also make external calls using your IPBX. Then also the next thing is also our router, which is for 4G LTE router this time around. So it's part of the device that we need on the network. So this, what the router actually does is one, it provides an internet to the PBX so that the PBX can be reached externally. Also, on the 4G router again, there is going to be a public IP address. I repeat, a public IP address. Static public IP address, let me also say that. That will give you an internet. That means that at any time this device is available. Okay, then after that there's going to be a connection between the 4G LTE router and the IPBX server. In this case, we have our, on the router we have 192.168.1.1, and on the IPBX server we have 192.168.1.2, meaning they are on the same network. Now, after that, we can also have this. This also depends on the scenario. You may or may not have access point on your own network, depend on the existing facilities you have, or you don't have anything, and also your requirement also will determine if you are going to have access point. In this case, we need an access point because in this office there are some mobile devices and there are some walls that we cannot actually start running a cable. So we set up a wireless access point whereby you connect one of the extension using Wi-Fi to this, and this the router actually was assigned an IP address to the extension. So we can actually give it a static IP address. So this is how this is connected. So what that means that the extension 101 is connected with the PBX using the wireless infrastructure. Now, we now have all these represent an extension which are on the network from other locations, either within the office or outside the country, or from another state, or from another location, not within the LAN. That means they can make a call from here through the internet to the router forward the request to the PBX look at who is the destination extension. Let's say the destination extension is 103. They post the request or the traffic to what? To 103, and they are able to establish a connection. Also, before this actually happened, this must have been registered on this. Okay, either from through the internet, and you are connected to this. So I hope this architecture is understood. If now, thank you for listening. Let's move again. Let's move on now. Now, we want to look at some other very important aspect is the requirement. What actually things that we need to actually share, because at times when some organization they see things that they think they need much more finance, much more expenses. No, just few devices, then you get it wrong. Then one of it is IPBX server. The server itself must be available. Then second one is the internet source. Our internet source, in this case, we are using 4G LTE router where the 4G SIM is installed. Then we are going to use an IP phone. This may be needed or it may not be needed because we have soft IP phone already, which also do the same thing, or what we call a SIP client. In this example, we are using GS Wave, that is as a Grandstream product. We also have we are going to have a trunk line as well, because the customer calling in as well, you need to have a line at which they can reach you, either a CO trunk or a GSM trunk. Also, you are going to have an access point, and we said this one is optional because your own scenario might not require you to set up an access point. Also, we are going to have an Ethernet cable for actually interconnect all these devices. The IPBX connected to the 4G LTE, the IP phone connect to the same network, and also the wireless access point also connected on the network. Then also, very important requirement is the public IP address. If you are making use of 4G LTE router, I mean you are using the 4G LTE network, that will mean that you need to actually purchase a public IP address from the provider, because from any of the 4G LTE network provider, they don't give a static IP address when you are purchasing. You must buy separately. Okay? Or you can actually subscribe to dynamic DNS. I will make sure that your device is reachable externally, no matter the changes that has happened on the dynamic IP address that was assigned to your 4G LTE router from the provider. But the best option is to use a public IP address. Now, another last thing is the local IP address, which is also very critical, because you must assign an IP address for your IPBX server. You must assign for your universal gateway, 4G LTE, then IP phones. So, on a quick note, I need to go back to this. When we are talking about universal, that means that it must not be a proprietary 4G LTE router, not the one from either um, either Smile or any of the provider or Spectranet or any other provider in other country. No matter what, it has to be universal. At least it can accept any 4G LTE SIM, as is a note of caution. Because if you use other, you're going to encounter some challenges. So the other requirement is the port forwarding. We must actually specify some ports that are going to port forward from the external, I mean from the internet into our server inside, which is what the IPBX server locally. In this case, in most cases, most of the manufacturer, they come with 5060 as the C port. So this port has to be configured on your router to, to transfer any traffic, any request from this port, and then open that port on the router. The router will now forward the request to the 5060 on the internal, which is which is server, the IPBX server locally. Then we also have other ones. We have 9000 to 5060. We have 5080 to 5060. All these things, they are also same ports, but they are not the default C port. But because the C port we can actually, especially when communicating from external, it is best advisable to change it from the default one, because some providers block this port on their network. Very importantly, is on TLC port. It has a port forward, which is port 5061 to 5061 on the IPBX server locally. The last one is the RTP, which is real-time protocol, which is actually responsible for carrying out your voice communication. Anyway, because RTP is actually meant for real-time communication. So you need to specify this range of ports from the external, and then allow you to pass through your router to the intended server, which is the IPBX server this time around. So having mentioned all the requirements, so let's get it started by moving on to our 4G LTE router, because that is actually the first thing that is advisable to be done, is what your router. What are the things that need to be done on your router? One, the first thing you need to do is to log in into the router. How do you do that? You have to know the IP address, either from the manual being given to you, or you check the body of the carton of the device that you purchase. So in this example that we are demonstrating to us, we are going to use TP-Link TLMR6400. That is what we are using. So you type the IP address of the of the router, which is in this case is 192.168.1.1 in the browser. Once you've done that, press enter. Once you press enter, once you will request for your login username and password. Once you log in successfully, you have this interface, so showing the current thing that is already on the device. If you look at it, see that the one is connected, that is your internet is connected using what? A 4G connection. Also, after you've successfully logged in, then you need to go to advanced. Then after advanced, you go to network, that is advanced and network. After you've done that, the next thing is now to assign an IP addresses based on your design IP range. Now, in this case, we've said what we specified our IP to be 192.168.1.1 as the local IP address on our router with the subnet 255.255.255.0. Then the DHCP is enabled because we enable this just because we are having a plan that there may be some other mobile devices or a Wi-Fi IP phones that we want to connect to the link to the networks. So that is why we specify the IP pool between 192.168.100 to 192.199. So we list this range of IP for any device that you want to connect wirelessly into to the network. After that, we click save, and then this we are done with setting up the IP address or assigning an IP address on the router. The next thing we're not going to do again is now to now go to do some NAT port forwarding. So for us to do this, we go to NAT forwarding. After that, we go to SIP ALG. The main task we need to do there is to uncheck the SIP ALG because it affects the transfer of the request from external into the internal. It used to have some issue which cannot actually do. But what you need to do is must ensure that SIP ALG is disabled. It can be this router or any other router you want to ensure that SIP ALG, this one is disabled. Once you've done that, you click on save. Then you are done on this aspect. After that, the next one is actually doing a port forwarding. Don't forget, part of our requirement was that you need to know the ports that you need to be allowed on the router, which we've specified earlier. Now, to do that, go to the router. After successful login again, go to advanced, then NAT port forwarding, then virtual servers. Because on this router, it is treating the port forwarding as a virtual server. As there, after you click on virtual server, you now click on add. After add, you are going to display this. This is the first one we created. The ID of this one is 1. Then this is allocated automatically. Then service type you need to specify. In this case, we say this one's a SIP1, and the external port, which is the port that is coming from the internet, is 9000 9000. Then the internal IP where this port that needs to be open for that the traffic request from this port is go to 192.168.1.2, which is the IP address on the IPBX server. Then for the internal port, it has to be 5060, okay, and then for the protocol, it has to be either TCP or UDP. So you can specify it to have a flexibility. Then the status, once you click add and you save, the status is going to tell you if it is okay or not. That is how this is configured. The same thing with RTV, TLS, and the website. Any of the port that you want the traffic to pass through the router, whenever that port is coming, for you to allow that port to pass through, to be forwarded to the intended recipient, which is what 192.168.1.1.1.2 in this case. Having successfully done that, you click on save, and then the system you need to reboot. So that is all what you need to do on the router. First one, to assign an IP address. Again, as a recap, the second one is after you have assigned the IP address, the next thing is that you log in into advanced. Again, you go to NAT, you disable your ALG. After that, you now go back to virtual server, then you do your port forwarding to the router, and then from router to the what? To the IPBX server. Yeah, that is successfully done. The next one is now move on to your server itself, IPBX server configuration in this case. So the first thing you need to know, as you must know the login parameters, which are the IP address on the server. In this case, we are using our UCM. So you need to know the IP address on the UCM, having know the IP address on the UCM, and also the username and password. This is very key for you to be able to log in successfully. So once you've done that, you type the IP address on the browser. After done that, click press enter. You're going to firstly we going to show you that you have that you're going to expose, because you see as if you are logging to an unsecure network. But never mind, proceed with it. Once you click proceed, then you're going to open this page for you. Having done this, you put your IP, the username, and then your password. After you've done that, the next thing is to click on login. After you click login, then you're logging. Once your credential is right, you'll be logging successfully, and you're going to have this dashboard screen to you. So on this dashboard, you can see what are the things that there is extension. These are the features of the extension, the LAN port, all these three that they are connected. This one is blue, then this is external line, this is FXO in this case. All of them are all blue, meaning that they are all active. And right then, this is a line showing that they are on idle status, waiting for the request. Okay. After you've now successfully logged in, the next thing to do is now go to network settings. What do you need to do on the network setting? The major thing you are doing on the network setting is to specify your IP address. One, to assign IP address locally and external. In this case, we have two. This is LAN 1. This LAN 1 is representing our LAN IP. And from here, let me explain something again. The method we're going to use. This can be set up as a router, or can set up as a door. That door means that the two LAN ports, LAN 1 and LAN 2, on the server will be acting as switch. So in this case, I prefer to use this option because this will give me a flexibility for my network segmentation. One port will be for external communication, which will be connected to the 4G LTE, while another will connect to the local network, which is connected to their switch for power distribution. So that is how this is done, and the server acts as a node on the network, not as a router in this case. So having said that, we specify our DNS server. So DNS server will depend on your provider. This will be given to you from the either automatically or you are sent to do. Now, for the second, which is LAN 2, don't forget, I made my LAN 2 as what? As the default interface, okay? Which is when I connected directly with the 4G LTE router. In this case, make my IP address 192.168.1.2, and then your subnet 0, 192.168.1.1 as my gateway IP. Then I'll specify my DNS server as well. I also use a Google DNS 8.8.8.8. So after that, you click save, and then definitely your route, your UCM will reboot. So after coming up, the next thing you're going to do is to move on to NAT setting, that's the network address translation setting. How do you go about this? After you've successfully log in, the next thing is to go to PBX settings. After PBX setting, you go to SIP settings. After SIP settings, you go to NAT. You click on NAT. Once you click on NAT, this will be shown to you. You have external host. Now, on the external host, we specify your public IP address here. Okay, then you now specify your external UDP port. By default, this port is 5060, but for us, we are changing it to 9000. Okay, you now go again and do your specify your local IP address, that's a local network address. So this our local area has been saved, which is 191.1.0/24. After you finish that, you click on save. Once you click on save, it will be requested that the SIP setting is configured successfully. Do you want to restart the device? Now apply. To apply the click OK. Your device will accept, save the configuration, and reboot the server, which is UCM. So once that is this is successfully done, you move on to user creation. But before you can actually create our extensions, you must understand something. Some consideration is we need to know how many extensions required on the network. How many digits of this extension will be? 3 digits. I mean, 10101 is a 3 digits. 1010 is a what? 4 digits. 1111 or 1345. 13451 is a 5 digit. This you need to agree with the end users or your customer going to actually do this. But mostly what is common is 3 digits. 1011, which is the olden days numbering system that people have accustomed with. Then also, how many extensions will be able to make outgoing calls? 2, 3. Also, how many extensions will receive the incoming calls? Is it everybody? Is it only the reception? Or we need to implement an IVR, which is interactive voice response on our phoning system. Then how is the incoming call will be routed? Is it all the incoming call from all the lines will be routed directly to the front desk, or to the receptionist, or to the secretary of the organization? Depend on how you want your call to be routed. This needs to be agreed with the end user before you can actually do any configuration. Once you have agreed on that, how many future extension is required on the network? All this needs to be agreed before you actually go on in creating the extension. Then again, are you going to have extension group? So whenever I call a single extension, that means that I will ring on other extensions depending on the mode or how I want it done. So once having agreed on how this could be, the next thing is to swing into action. By what? By logging into the browser. After successful login, the next thing we do is go to extension stroke trunk. This is how it goes. You go to extension / trunk, then from extension / trunk to extensions. So this is where we have the dashboard. We have add on this. The next thing we do is what? After we click on extension, we see add, we see edit or SIP extension. You can see export, but what we actually need is what? We click on add extension. So once we click on add extension, you type some parameters, but who can actually type some parameters? There are some other things that need to be done, which will be explained in the next slide, but something are very critical for your extension. One, authentication ID and authentication password, extension number, password name and other name, password and name and other name. So once you did that, you click save, then reloading at the top upper corner of the interface, and then click apply changes. So let me go to the next slide. Yeah, you can actually create a single user. That is, if you want to set up your extensions, you can create 10. You can create one. For example, I have 10 extensions I want to create. I can create one after the other. And if for me to do this one, go to, after you click on extension, you click on add. After you click on add, you're going to have this interface. So on this interface, you select add method that you want. In this case, you choose single. Then we specify the extension number. Then for the permission, is this international? Is it regional? Is it international? So in this case, we choose internal. Then we now specify our authentication ID, specify our caller ID. Then you specify the what? The password for the SIP extensions. So having done that, these are the most critical parts that we must be done. So, and all this have to be documented in your folder. Then the next thing is that you must specify the user settings, which is one, first name and the last name. So if it is you are configuring for a department, for example, it is account. This will be your account. This is account one. It will just be account then one. Okay, you specify the email address of recipient for the purpose of voicemail recipient. Okay, then specify your user password for the extension that is want to log into the web interface. Then you also have a mobile extension. This is actually good. Going to configure an extension. Follow me. This is once this is done, you click on save and then reload. That's complete. So if you want to set up 10 extensions, that is how each of them will be created. It's a bit cumbersome, right? It's cumbersome. Let's look at the next options. The next option is for me to create my extension. I want to create like 20 extensions at a time. Then what I need to do is I go to extension, then I'll go to add. After add, this is going to show it to me. Instead of selecting single the other time, click on the drop down menu and select batch. So once we click on batch, so you have this as shown on this. So on the batch, it gives you how many extensions you want to create. For in this case, you said 20 extension. Then you now specify the increment. Is it one increment or two increment? That is at interval of a number. For example, we have extension number 201. The next one, based on this increment, will be 202. The next one will be 203, like that, until you have all the 20 extension set up. Okay. Now we specify the extension, the permission we want to give all of them, the caller ID, which is the same thing as our extension number. These are things we need to set. All this will be populated automatically because you have specified the incremental the incrementation method that we want, which is what is 1. Having done that, we click on save and reload. That means that we have finished creating all our extensions. They sound great, right? Thank you. Then move on to the next one. So once this is done successfully, the next thing to do is now go to your mobile phones or your mobile devices, maybe on the system or on your pad. The next one is now to do some configuration. So before you can actually do some configuration, you need to download some application. One, the major application that you need in this case is your SIP client. You can use any SIP client, but for the purpose of this training, we are using GS Wave. GS Wave is a SIP client from Grandstream. Now, after you have download the software, the next thing, this will be displayed to you like this. You have this interface. Okay, so the next one now is you click on settings. Because you have downloaded the software already on the phone, the next thing is to configure it. You go to settings. After the setting, you go to account settings. Now, the next one after the account setting is to click on add, which is plus in this case. Once you click on plus, the next one will show you SIP account. So you go to your SIP account when you want to add a new account. Once you click on SIP account, the next thing you will do is that is show you the parameter that you need to insert. This is based on the parameter you created on your PBX server. Okay, this has to be on individual phone at the respective office or the respective location. But you must know what is the account name. The account name is what can do what extension name, then SIP server. Then you need to specify the IP address, the public IP address or the router will be here. If it's a large company, it will be a public IP address on your router provided for you in the office. Then now specify what the SIP user ID, SIP user ID, then SIP authentication ask and password as this one, this has to be as it is created from the IPBX server. That means the following things are very, very critical if you want your extension to be registered with the server. One, very important, is SIP server, which is the IP address of the server. Then the next thing is what? Is the SIP user ID, can be 101, can be 103, can be 123. Then the next one is also the what? The SIP authentication ID as created, and the password as created for the extension. Then if you create a voicemail ID, user ID, also put it here as well. Then what is display name? The name you want it to be, that you want to show, that you want to be showing on your phones when you are called or you are calling or you are being called. Okay, so this is an example. In this one, we say accounts with text2, then we specify the public IP address column 9000 in this case, column 9000. After that, we put our extension number, which is 123 in this case. Then zip authentication in this case also 123. Then we put our password. After we put our password, but we did not configure our user ID, voicemail user ID. That's why that's why we are not bothered about this. Then display name, the name that we display whenever you are being called or you are calling. Okay, after that, you click on these signs on top like this one to show that this is saved. Just like you tick, you click on tick. Once this is done and all the parameters are entered correctly, then you click save and then you check the status. On the status, if your status shows that it is green, that means that you have successfully registered your server. That means that congratulations and the thumb up for you. So now having this, once this is already registered with the server, it is now ready to receive or make call. So you can actually open the keypad and dial the extension that you want to call. So, and this is actually being the end of the guide. So, meaning that this has been established, it means that extension 101 can also now call extension 123, and also 123 can call 101, and both of them can call each other. You can do the same thing. What you are doing within the office can also do it from external. So if you have any question, kindly let us know. This comes the end of this guide. I hope this is I hope this is interesting. Again, I want to thank you for listening to my tutorials, and for you to continue enjoying this, you can log in into our support, or you can send us an email. For example, you can send it to training@salcomtechnologies.com if you need a full-fledged training on IPBX setup or IPBX training, or you can also send to muideen@salcomtechnology.com, and also you can also reach us on our Facebook, www.facebook.com/salcomtechnology. Likewise, you can look for our YouTube channel. We actually want you to help us on this. Click on it, like it, and share it, and also give us a thumb up if this actually add a value to you. Once again, I thank you for listening, and we are very happy that you joined our video tutorials. If you have uh, if you have anything again that you want us to know, kindly reach us as we stated earlier. And in conclusion, don't forget our next edition is coming up, which we are going to address what actually the the, the impediments that if we come across any of these impediments or any of these challenges or problems on your VoIP network, how actually you are going to solve them. This will be in our next video tutorials. Again, which is actually what we are actually focusing on the next tutorial is the factors that are affecting your voice quality. But voice quality is the key as far as this is concerned. So once again, I thank you for listening. I thank you for being there. You're welcome. Bye bye.